You're listening to Brandon Sports Talk, interviewing professional athletes and Paralympians and Olympians. And now for your professional athlete interview and your host, Brandon P.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I look privileged of interviewing the USA's professional volleyball player, Ashley Evans. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Can you talk about how you knew that you want to get started in playing in professional volleyball?
I discovered that I wanted to play volleyball professionally probably my junior senior year of college. I played at Purdue University, and I did not know much about the professional volleyball world until I reached my later years in college, and I wanted to see how far I could take the sport and how much I could fulfill my potential and reach my ceiling. And So I wanted to explore different opportunities and see where it could take me across the world. And so it was at the end of my career at Purdue that I finally made the decision to play professionally overseas.
During your collegiate time, what was that experience like going to Purdue and playing collegiate volleyball for them?
Purdue University is a dream for any athlete, especially a volleyball player. I went to Purdue for the academics and the athletics, and from the athletic side, Dave Shondell and his crew, it's a big family, and the family atmosphere is what really sold me on the athletic side. And I wanted to play in the Big Ten, and so when I met the coaches and toured the campus, I think I was a sophomore in high school when I committed, and rules are different now. You can't commit until I think you're at least a junior in high school. So I went pretty early, but I loved the staff and the environment, and I love the small school feel. Even though it's a Big Ten school with 40,000 people, it's a very small feel. And so to go from one end of campus to the next takes max 20 minutes, and you don't see 40,000 people walking around. So there's not much in West Lafayette other than everything Purdue, and so it was an easy yes for me. And it wasn't too far from home, not too close, and it checked all the boxes for athletics and academics.
What was that feeling like for you making that Purdue team and getting to put on that uniform representing Purdue?
It meant everything to me. I bleed black and gold, and will bleed black and gold until the day I die. And I had a lot of pride in playing for Purdue and being a Boilermaker. And the Shondells have had so much success there, and Dave is there now. I think he's heading into currently maybe in his 23rd ish year, 22nd year. I'm not 100% sure, but definitely past the 20th season. And they have built just a phenomenal program. And so putting on that jersey as a freshman, I still remember our opening weekend, and just a packed house in Holloway Gym. Hot as can be. Now it's different. They have air conditioning. They're very spoiled, I would say, but happy for them. So I still remember that first weekend, and it's something I'll cherish forever.
While at Purdue, what was that experience like putting on that uniform and representing them?
It meant everything to me. Having that P on your chest and repping the black and gold. It is a special school and a special team and a special program with a special staff, and it just meant everything to me. And if I could do it all over again, I would do it in a heartbeat.
What was that feeling like the last time you got to put on that Purdue uniform?
Thinking back to my senior year, and I still remember our last game in Utah in the NCAA tournament. Unfortunately, lost on their home floor, and it was actually off of my own hitting error. So what a way to go out! But just the way it falls sometimes. So I was there for 5 years, and it felt long. The days were long, but the years were short, and I just have always cherished those 5 years, and just am so honored to be a Boilermaker.
While at Purdue, what was that experience like playing against some of those teams in the Big Ten, like Ohio State?
The Big Ten is the creme de la creme of university volleyball, and being in the Big Ten you never know who's going to win in any given night. And so, especially against big rivals like Ohio State, I'm from Ohio. And so for me, knowing Ohio State was recruiting me when I was growing up, it was too close for home, just wasn't a great fit. And so when you cross paths with in-state rivals that where you're from, it's always that much sweeter when you beat teams that you really want to beat. And so beating Ohio State numerous times in my career was awesome. And then just any given night, any team can win. And that's what was the best part of playing in the Big Ten.
During your collegiate time, what were some of your biggest accomplishments at Purdue?
As an athlete, I think some of my biggest accomplishments were, for me, the transition from being a non-setter to a setter. So I was recruited as a setter and was not a full-time setter until I actually reached college. And so to go from a freshman that actually hit as an outside hitter my freshman year to being an All-American by the time I left as a full-time setter, I think that I would say is my biggest accomplishment. And I know at least my senior year, we beat multiple top 10 teams. And those are always sweet wins. And so I would say those are two of my biggest accomplishments as an athlete. And then from an academic standpoint, I studied engineering and was a 3-time academic All-American. And so I don't know if that's been accomplished again since I've left. I hope someone else has accomplished that, but I think I was the first as I exited Purdue to be a 3-time academic All-American. That's something I'm very proud of still to this day.
How was that transition like for you going from being a collegiate athlete to getting onto the professional volleyball side and going first to Hungary?
It was a different, a bit of a challenge, but a great challenge going from the college game to the professional game. The professional game is a lot faster and more powerful than the collegiate game, and right now I think even the collegiate game is just blowing up from a power standpoint and athletic standpoint and capability standpoint of the athletes at that age. And so when I was there, the transition was just a faster game, a more powerful game, and players that can play all 6 rotations. So the international game, you only have 6 subs, and the college game, you have, I think, 12. I could be off, but many more than the professional world. And so you're more accustomed to playing with just 5 other people around you instead of multiple subs in and out. And that allows us to have a very tight-knit group.
How was that like getting to represent a club like the Racing Club?
Yeah, so I played in France. It was actually only a half season, and then right before COVID hit, so I was in Caen, France, Racing Club Caen, RC Caen, and it was a great experience. Lived in the Mediterranean, right on the Mediterranean Sea, and had the whole view of the sea from my balcony in my apartment. And so it was a great experience right before COVID hit. And so I was only there for about 2 months. So I don't have a lot to say about that since it was such a quick blip in that team in France. But certainly enjoyed my teammates and my living arrangements on the French Riviera.
What was that experience like for you getting to play with the Grand Rapids Rise?
Playing with Grand Rapids in the inaugural season of PBF this past winter and spring was extremely memorable, and I loved playing in front of family and friends. That was I had not experienced that since college, and so being the first season for PBF, I was honored to be a part of that, and I hope in the future there's a lot of success with the domestic leagues. I'm obviously I'm back overseas now, and there's reasons for that. But I loved playing for Grand Rapids, and I was the first serve and the first assist, and was able to establish many records with the team. But the most thing that I enjoyed the most was just playing in front of so many family and friends on U.S. soil.
For you, what was that transition like going from playing on the U.S. side of volleyball to playing on the international side?
I think just the biggest adjustment is how much more powerful the game is and how much faster the professional world and game is over here, overseas. So that is, I guess, from a setter standpoint, the biggest adjustment is being able to play a faster tempo, a faster speed offensively. And yeah, it depends on also the leagues you're in. Like Italy and Turkey are the strongest leagues and have the biggest, most powerful players, and so that level is going to be even higher than Germany or France, for example. But it's also a challenge in the best way to learn different cultures and to live in different areas across the world. And the sport has brought me to places I would never see outside of volleyball.
What was that feeling like for you making that national team for US and getting to represent US?
Ooh, how do I put that into words? In a nutshell, I've played professional volleyball with the goal of being with our national team and being a national team member and wearing the red, white, and blue. And so I told myself coming out of college, my number one goal is can I work my way into the national team gym just for a tryout or a practice session or something. And so you have to take it step by step and put your foot out there. If you never ask, the answer is always no. And so when I first received that first invite in 2019 to be a part of a short training block and a roster, I was on cloud nine. And that's where it all started to continue to work my way up in the national team and see how far I could take it.
What was that feeling like when you did get that first invite to make the national team?
It was amazing. I still remember the email that came in from our head coach, Coach Fry. I was actually back at Purdue in 2019, taking a random accounting class that summer after I graduated just to keep my brain engaged, and got the email saying he needed a setter to help him out. And we had talked previously that year about potential opportunities and keeping in touch. And so I remember I was taking a nap that summer afternoon and woke up and saw the email from Coach, and was just on cloud nine. 100% absolutely yes, easy answer, and just took off from there.
For you, what was that feeling like putting on that uniform representing Team USA?
Putting on the uniform for the first time, I still remember standing with our team at the end line, singing our national anthem before our first game. It was at the Colorado Springs Olympic Training Center, and I honestly, I think I had tears in my eyes just because it was a smaller regional tournament, but at any level, wearing the red, white, and blue, brings me a lot of humility and just pride and satisfaction knowing that I've achieved something I strove for.
What was that feeling like competing in the Pan American Cup?
The Pan Am Cup was a tournament I competed in, I believe in 2022. And it's a regional tournament. We ended up finishing third in that. So we were able to stand on the podium and come home with the bronze. And that was the number one goal. I'd been a part of previous rosters in which we did not medal. And there's an expectation that, and pressure comes with that if you're wearing the red, white, and blue, you should medal. And it's a lot harder than people realize to do that in any of these tournaments. But we were able to do that and come away with a medal. And that was the number one goal. And so lots of lessons learned and friendships made and a lot of growth mentally, physically, emotionally. And so that was a really enjoyable tournament in Mexico a few years ago.
For you as an athlete, what was that feeling like putting on that bronze medal around your neck?
Amazing. I think sometimes with tournaments, a bronze almost feels sweeter than a silver because you're actually earning that medal. Not to say that the second place team doesn't earn that because they did earn their way to the championship match. But you're ending with a loss instead of a win, and having a W in that column feels a little sweeter because in that third place match, you're fighting to stand on the podium or not, and there's no in between. It's yes or no. And so coming away with that was something that I'm still very proud of.
How was that experience like for you competing in the Championship Cup against Canada?
Thinking back, that's 2021, I think. All of it's a blur now. But that one still stings to this day because we were ahead in the fifth set, I think like 5-2, or maybe even a bit more of like 7-3, something like that. And at that time, we were a very young, new team at this Continental Championship tournament. And the Canada team that we played with against, they were working their way up to their vision was, can we qualify for the 2024 Olympics? And so the same crew had been together for a while leading up into 2024. And they have an opposite, Kira Van Ryk, who has an insane top spin serve. And it's high risk, high reward. And so I remember in the fifth set, we were up by 3, 4, maybe even 5 points. And she went back and ripped off at least 3 or 4 aces in a row. And that just changed the whole momentum of the game. And so that really stung because we were in the driver's seat and could not pull it out in the fifth. And that kept us from standing on the podium for third place. And I think that's what really fueled my fire and other people's fire to come back in 2022 in any other tournament and not let that happen again.
What was that feeling like getting to qualify for the Olympics and going to Paris?
That was a whirlwind, to be perfectly honest. So last summer, I had a great role with our national team as one of the 3 setters, playing a lot with our main crew and our core group. And so my goal was to be a part of that training roster for the Olympic qualifier, knowing that I would most likely not travel with 2 of our other setters that were extremely experienced and had most certainly earned the position to be the first and second setters for that team. And unfortunately, one of those 2 setters, by the time they traveled to Poland and started practicing, one had an injury early on in the training. And so I was only home for a few days. I was going to enjoy some time off before heading to my overseas season, and received a call saying, we need you to come out immediately and help us and be a part of this roster. And so I was in Poland within 24 hours and was able to contribute and do anything I could possible to help USA solidify that qualifying spot. And we did that on the last day, beating Germany 3-1, if I remember correctly, and marking our spot for Paris. And so that's my biggest accomplishment with the USA team, and something I just still brings me chills to this day to be a part of that, knowing I had a role in getting us to the Olympics and preparing us for what came in Paris.
For you, what was that feeling like, obviously, as you said, getting towards the Olympics and making it towards Paris?
Yeah, I mean, I think any athlete within the national team that has the highest of aspirations is to be a part of an Olympic roster. And it's a small team. It's only 12 spots compared to 14 with any other roster. But the special part about USA is that it's not just those 12 or 14 on a roster that achieve any success. It's always the 25 or the 30 or even the 40 women that are in the gym in one summer, or even in 2 summers, or in a whole quad leading up to the Olympics. We've all played a specific role and have helped USA in some way get to where we are today. And that's the most important part of our program and the most advantageous and beneficial part of our program, that we are so deep in rosters and in personnel that we can all offer so much. And while it's a double-edged sword, because you have so many people to choose from a coaching staff, but also it guarantees that, in a way, that if you're not doing your job today, and that's going to happen, someone else can fulfill that role. And that's huge, because the more depth you have, the more success I think you'll have as a team in many ways, because you don't always have to rely just on 1 or 2 people to get the job done and play perfectly night in and night out.
For you as a volleyball player, what does it mean for you to represent Team USA?
It means everything to me to wear the red, white, and blue and have the flag on my chest. It's why I do what I do as a professional athlete. And that, may not be any more for me in the future. I'm not sure. I'm still working towards goals. But this is why I play professional volleyball, and I've achieved more than I ever thought possible as a USA national team member.
Of course, how has your experience with the Team USA team helped you into where you are now as a professional athlete playing overseas?
Being with Team USA, it's been the most competitive experience I've had. We are a top 5 team in the world, and you're playing with the best in the world. And so some teams I've been on overseas have not been that competitive. So I think playing with USA has prepared me even more for being over here, now finally being in a top league, one of the best in the world in Italy. But just playing day in and day out, especially last summer with our USA, you're playing with the best in the world and against them. And so that is where the most growth happens and the most fun happens, because the only way you get better is by playing with people that are around you that are much better than you and pushing you, and you have to raise your level of play to match that.
What is it like for you getting to have those fans asking for your autographs and photos with you?
It means everything. I think, at the end of the day, being a professional athlete, it's entertainment. It's competition, but at the end of the day, it's entertainment. And we could not do this without the fans supporting us, especially with USA Volleyball, for example. We're a nonprofit. We don't receive any funding from government assistance as other delegations do. And so the support we receive from USA Volleyball and club teams and people coming to watch us play when we're at home, on home soil in different tournaments like VNL or an Olympic qualifier, it means everything to us. And we feel the support when we're overseas virtually, but having fans come up to us, whether it be wearing the red, white, and blue or wearing a professional jersey over here, and seeing our sponsors and fans and friends and family in the stands, that we couldn't do it without them.
Who are some of the volleyball players that you look up to in the volleyball community?
Gosh, the list is endless. I think growing up, two of my idols, you could say, were Carrie Walsh Jennings and Jordan Larson. They are just they're the creme de la creme of our sport, for indoor and for beach, and they are the epitome of a professional and how they take care of themselves mentally, physically, emotionally, how they push themselves out of their comfort zones, getting better every single day, and knowing that even though they're so accomplished, they still admit in the most genuine and humble way that they have more to learn and accomplish, and no one is ever a final product and nothing is ever finished. You always have room to grow. And they both, not that I've never met Carrie Walsh, but I know Jordan Larson, played with her and trained with her and competed with her. And she is just a light in the sport and has so much to offer. So those two for sure at the top of my list.
What would you tell your younger self that is in college playing collegiate volleyball right now?
I would tell my younger self to enjoy the ride. Not that I didn't enjoy it, but you really don't realize how good you have it until you're done, or you're out of college, or you're past a season. And I think a lot of people would say the same thing, that in the moment, sometimes you feel the pressure, the anxiety, performance anxiety, or just pressure to play at a certain level, play to a certain degree. And you're always striving for more, especially with the national team, of wanting to make another roster and get, just get better and be a better player, and constantly striving to be better. And so I would say just enjoy the ride, because it's so much sweeter than you would ever realize.
Looking back on your volleyball career now, what would you tell your younger self knowing all the accomplishments you've had so far?
I would tell my younger self, you are so capable and you will grow in ways that you never thought you could grow as an athlete, mentally and emotionally. And you're going to learn so much, more than you could ever realize. And similar to just before, of enjoying every single moment and riding the highs and riding the lows, and acknowledging your feelings and acknowledging them to work past them. I think a sports psychologist that we work with USA, her name's Katie Stanfield. I credit a lot of my growth in the mental and emotional department to her, and the work we've done to, it's, even if you're a high performing athlete, you're going to feel all the feelings. And in the past, I look back and I think, okay, I actually was suppressing a lot of emotion instead of acknowledging it and then working through it. And that's really important. So I would tell myself that, okay, it's okay to be tough and put on this tough face, but you really need to appreciate actually how you feel, because that's going to help you get to the next point or work past those emotions.
What advice would you give those collegiate athletes looking to play professional volleyball?
My biggest piece of advice for any athlete interested in playing professional is to ask a lot of questions early, and reach out to people that that are playing overseas or domestically, in the pro leagues in the States, and just to get a real idea of what life is like, how the agency process works, finding an agent, recruiting, signing, how apartment living situations are like. I mean, ask any and every question under the sun to really understand what the pro world is like, because when we got into the pro world, social media wasn't as nearly as big as it is now. So you can find a lot more information out there without actually asking questions directly to somebody. But still, I think it's important to make some connections and reach out and really get a true feel for how life is as a professional athlete before heading into that chapter.
What advice would you give those volleyball players looking to make it onto the national team for representing Team USA?
Any athlete in the volleyball world with a goal to be a USA team member, I would say put your foot out there. Even if you think you may not be good enough now, early on, still put yourself out there, contact the coaches. You never ask. If you never ask, the answer is always no. And it always comes, I always come back to the quote that shoot for the moon and you'll land among the stars. I think a lot of us had that on a poster in like our elementary school rooms. But that's my career in a nutshell. I was not a highly touted player coming out of college, had a great career at Purdue and accomplished a lot, but wasn't, a top 2 setter coming out. But I did have big dreams and goals, and knowing that I could just throw myself 100% into volleyball now that I finished school. And I put myself out there. I contacted our national team and said, can we talk? Can I somehow get out there to California? And the first answer was no. And but then after an opportunity came, and now look, what I've accomplished. And so the answer may be no now, but that doesn't mean no for later. And so put yourself out there, but also know that if you put yourself out there, you got to be fully committed. You can't be half in, half out.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you out on social media?
You can find me on social media through Facebook or Instagram or even Twitter. Yeah.
Thank you again, Ashley Evans, for your interview, and best of luck in your future as a Team USA volleyball athlete.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Ashley Evans, for your interview, and best luck in your future.
Thank you so much.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.